When you buy an Apple iPhone, there used to be off years with minimal exterior differences, but enough internal upgrades to be considered a new generation of phone. Apple used to distinguish these years with an S letter after the number, but that naming scheme has since been retired, and we're just going up. We're just going up the number ladder right now. The iPhone 13 Pro is a mightily serviceable phone in its own right. But if you're comparing it to an iPhone 12 Pro, it may not be such an exciting year-to-year upgrade Apple fans are known to do and jump to. From a design standpoint, not much has actually changed year to year. There's a brand new Sierra blue color for the Pro line and the narrower notch on the front display. We'll talk about the processing power bump in the next section, but the main reason I wanted to get an iPhone 13 Pro in the first place was for the ability to explore the macro mode on the camera app. We film and take photos of a lot of different gadgets here at the Sypnotix, and while a DSLR or mirrorless camera is the right way to go and will never be replaced, or at least not right now, there are situations where an even more portable solution would be quite convenient for us. A triple 12 megapixel camera setup that covers wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto sensors hold over their previous location on the rear of the iPhone. Apple rarely, if ever, lets users down in the photo department, and we have more of the same this year. Photos in well-lit environments are crisp, well-exposed, and offer accurate color reproduction. I'm still impressed with the AI's ability to distinguish what to focus and expose. It actually is quite darn good. Apple really does do a terrific job that requires minimal effort from the user. You can easily take a photo on the iPhone 13 Pro that looks great on the first attempt, no matter how experienced you are at framing a shot. That isn't always the case, even on many other higher-priced flagship phones. So was the macro mode, which was the prime reason I bought the phone, really worth the $999 price tag? Of course not. But as far as the mobile phone macro picture taking thing is concerned, I was relatively satisfied with what Apple has given us here. I wouldn't rely on using the macro mode for video, as at that focal range, any slight movement, even with Apple's dual optical image stabilization, will define what you shoot. Photo results do fare better, as when the auto macro is enabled, the iPhone does automatically switch into the digital zoom of the ultra-wide lens 10 centimeters away from the object. It's very easy to use, and when you artificially imitate a lens's function, you'll inevitably, however, encounter some noise that a real lens of that type wouldn't pick up. That's what keeps actual cameras in our bags to this day. While the macro mode was a fruitful addition, but not an essential game changer, the iPhone 13 Pro then needs to rely on a high level from other functions of the phone to really make it worth the high price tag. Fortunately, as always, Apple has consistently given us all-around performers over the years, and that trend continues with the Apple A15 Bionic chip. Smooth, effortless navigation of iOS 15 is evident with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage on our model here. I haven't come across any app that has throttled my user experience, nor did I honestly expect to see that on here. You're getting top-of-the-line performance here that is supported by tremendous longevity in the battery life department. It always amazes me what Apple can do with such a Metacore spec sheet numbers. They've consistently pulled a rabbit out of a hat, and once again, with this 3095 milliamp hour battery, they've done it again. Even with my above average heavy usage, I can stretch out nearly 2 days on one charge. I reviewed my abundant share of phones over the years with a strict grading curve using the same app library, and even I have to admit, this phone is amazing battery life for its size. Speaking of size, the iPhone 13 Pro has essentially the same 6.1-inch 1170 by 2532p OLED display as the 12 Pro did. There's a little more real estate thanks to that tighter notch, but the 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio is good for 460 ppi. There isn't much that needs to be said about this Super Retina XDR screen, as it holds the same quality viewing experience as the previous generation of Apple iPhones. Not much has changed here. The same quality applies to the stereo speakers that utilizes the earpiece and a bottom firing speaker. They've been doing this for a little bit. It's clear and distinctive audio that just sounds natural. The phone fits quite comfortably in my hands, and that's also one of the reasons why I always get the regular or the mini-sized iPhones over the Max. I think Apple has settled into a good middle ground between comfortability and viewing space with this regular-sized iPhone, this standard-sized iPhone. Face ID, 7.5-watt Qi charging, and the MagSafe magnetic system that debuted last year all retain their spots on the newest iPhones. One horribly frustrating spot that made its unwanted continued presence is Lightning USB 2.0 as the charging port. I just can't explain how ludicrous it is to continue using Lightning cable in 2021 when literally every other tech product, including basically everything else Apple makes, is on USB-C. The fact that you can use one cable and one charging brick for in every other piece of tech in your everyday carry, except for the iPhone, it's just unacceptable. Sure, good Qi charging like that on the iPhone 13 Pro does help offset the inconveniences this triggers, but there has to be a point where the general public just stops listening to the propaganda from Apple of why USB-C isn't ready for iPhones. It makes no sense. As with the iPhone, there's always a lot more to like than there is to dislike. As iPhone sales continue to climb year in and year out, these former S years are less exciting on the exterior, but actually more refined than often given credit for. The iPhone 13 Pro is a terrific smartphone for anybody out there looking for a smartphone that requires minimal effort to use. Where the difficult question comes into play is if it's worth an upgrade over the 12 or even the 11 lineups. This phone is for sure the cream of the crop, but after using all three of the recent generations, I can honestly say that people like my parents or my sister won't even be able to notice the processing speed bumps. Some of them might not even be able to recognize the slight bump in camera technology. Like, for all they're concerned, the 13 lineup physically looks like the 12 and the 11 lineups, and if these phones are cheaper and they look the same, they must not be that different. That's what general consumers are trained to think. Competitors like Samsung with the Z Flip 3 can get away with slight physical changes year to year due to the form factor that doesn't occupy a vast majority of pockets. There once was a time where iPhone launches were the most exciting smartphone products to look forward to in a calendar year. I do still love the all-around goodness of the iPhone 13 Pro, and I would even consider this to be a contender for my phone of the year, my personal phone of the year. Is it, though, the most exciting phone I've used in this year? No, it's not. And that's where we're at with Apple in 2021.
So the other day, I was on a Zoom call at work, and I just dropped everything I was saying, and I told them, subscribe.